Toys. They take me back to my childhood, a time when life was simple, when I was little and my dreams were big.
But toys are not just for kids anymore. Fully grown men and women now queue outside stores just to get a toy.
This is Pop Mart. The Chinese company was founded in 2010. Today, it's a $6 billion business, and most of its customers are adults.
But what makes Pop Mart so popular? And what does that tell us about China? This is China Explained.
Pop Mart doesn't just make toys. It makes designer toys, collectible items that sometimes seem like art. The company is the brainchild of Chinese millennial Wang Ning. He started with a single store in Beijing, but in 2016, Wang met someone who would change his life forever.
Her name was Molly, a blue-eyed girl with a permanent pout.
She was created by artist Kenny Wong, who agreed to a deal giving Pop Mart exclusive rights to Molly. But that was just one part of the game plan. Pop Mart started selling something called the blind box. Customers would choose a box,
But they only discovered what was inside after paying and tearing it open. Let's see how lucky I am. Cool.
the mystery of the blind box added to the appeal. And it's not hard to see why.
Remember when you were a kid and you just couldn't wait to get your hands on your Christmas presents? Well, this was the same, just for adults.
The idea soon went viral. Sales rocketed as consumers flocked to stores. Revenue jumped from $21 million to $234 million in just 2 years. The Molly collection contributed more than a quarter of that growth. More demand meant more business. And by 2021, Pop Mart owned 200 stores and more than 1,500 vending machines.
Yet despite all her success, Molly never smiled. Not even once.
And Pop Mart didn't stop there. Instead, it went looking for new markets. But consumers in other countries weren't as familiar with the brand. The company needed another Molly, a toy that could capture the imagination.
This time it was a fluffy little elf with serrated teeth and a naughty smile. Labubu.
He became an instant celebrity, even going on tour in Thailand. Meanwhile, Pop Mart opened stores across Asia, the US, Europe, and Australia. Revenue increased 62% year-on-year in the first half of 2024. Overseas sales made up nearly 30% of that revenue.
Pop Mart made some really smart decisions, but first and foremost, it understood its customers and the thinking behind their decisions.
It's called kidulting, being an adult but living like a kid.
Kidulting has been described as an escape from a world that often feels rather bleak.
But it's also about finding joy, the kind of joy we felt as children.
The reality is that anxiety levels among young people have surged around the world.
They're more worried than their parents ever were, stressing about everything from the job market to the climate crisis. But they do have ways to cheer themselves up. In 2024, researchers studied spending patterns during China's Singles Day, which is similar to Black Friday. Nearly 40% of Gen Z shoppers say they spent money on emotional soothing. Sales hit $140 million in just 7 minutes.
But China's Gen Z shoppers aren't just buying local.
Many are obsessed with a brand that started right here in the UK. Yep, good old Britain. famous for its tradition, its history, and its Jellycat?
Hello! Wait, what? Yep, you heard right.
Jellycat is a British company which makes plush toys. And just like Pop Mart, business is booming. Jellycat sales in 2022 were almost 8 times higher than they were in 2013. And when you see Jellycat videos on social media, it's pretty obvious that the brand is thriving. Posts with the tag Jellycat got more than 1.5 billion views on Chinese platform Xiaohongshu. It's no wonder then that China's designer toy sector is now worth $15 billion, growing from just 1 billion in less than a decade. At the same time, the global market went from $9 billion to $45 billion. Gen Z's emotional spending is a big deal, making headlines around the world. But emotions don't pay the bills. So, how do young people afford all this stuff? The answer lies at the heart of China's economy. Back in 1999, China's GDP per capita was just over $2,000. By 2019, it was $10,000. And it seems that's the magic number. Take the US, for example. When you adjust for inflation, GDP per capita was above $10,000 throughout the 1920s. That was also Hollywood's golden era. Now, Japan hit the $10,000 mark in the 1960s, just before the boom in the country's animation industry. In both cases, the so-called cultural economy did pretty well when consumers had cash to splash. And by the looks of it, that's what's happening in China. Meanwhile, the country is getting more savvy when it comes to intellectual property, or IP. China has beefed up laws to prevent the theft of new ideas and designs. That's encouraged innovation. Analysts say patents now add at least $2 trillion to China's economy. That's roughly 13% of its GDP. And that brings us back to the toys. Many designer toy companies have exclusive rights to use certain characters. Pop Mart has teamed up with hundreds of artists, buying the rights to their characters. It's even secured licensing deals with big franchises like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and Marvel. But this is a young industry, and these are, after all, trendy toys. Who knows? One day Gen Z may decide cadelting is no longer cool. But the industry has shown what's possible with a little support and a lot of innovation. And if there's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's that toys are powerful. Toys bring us comfort in a world that feels ever more confusing. They spark creativity and build communities of people driven by the same passion. But above all, they remind us to dream big, just like we did when we were little.